So in lesson number 4 under data center concepts, we're going to go over the different data center role. Obviously, we cover software system, hardware system, different pieces that interconnect a data center. And so to manage what I mentioned in lesson 1, lesson number 2, and lesson number 3, you do need specialized role. And so generally, this is what that's current in the industry right now. Obviously, as we have emerging technology, these you will see different variation of these titles, but this is generally the guideline. And so overall, these roles are responsible for designing, implementing, maintaining, and supporting a data center infrastructure. As I mentioned, hardware and software, right, to provide 24 by 7, 365 services so that these systems are reliable, available 24 by 7, and they are secure. And so some of these core functions are enterprise architect. I didn't get into the number of years of experience and qualification, so but you can do a Google on the different job functions, and you'll get a sense of a deeper understanding. This is just a general overview, so you can at least use this as a starting point. So, enterprise architect is responsible for the design and planning and um, designing the infrastructure for both hardware, software, connectivity, and all the interconnects. This role has deep and broad experience with all the data center pieces and dependency. And so historically, this is more of a senior role because it's responsible for the design and implementation for the core pieces and all the dependencies of a data center. Network engineering or network engineers responsible for design, implementation, and maintaining of data center overall, what we call local area network and wide area network infrastructure. As I mentioned, some of these networking devices, your switches, your routers, your firewall, your load balancer, your virtual private network, wireless access point, and such forth. And so this is mostly a focus area and in designing um, traffic being routed from your local area network to your wide area network. Storage administrators respond for maintaining the data center storage system, and so I mentioned your different flavors of storage system, your storage area network, and your network attached storage. And so this is a specialized role right now, and typically it will merge into the next role as a system. So as a system engineer or as an administrator, you do perform some function of storage administrator, but typically a system engineer is responsible for installing, configuring, and maintaining the operating system and application software. For example, different business systems, as I mentioned in lesson 1, desktop system. Virtualization engineer is responsible for the design, implementation, maintenance of the virtualization infrastructure. And so I mentioned before a hypervisor, and so some of the hypervisor, for example, is VMware is a leading hypervisor, and then you have Microsoft of their own, right? And so a virtualization engineer is responsible for creating, maintaining that infrastructure. Database engineer, administrator. So I did mention on one the software system, Microsoft SQL, Oracle, Postgres, and so this role is responsible for managing and maintaining the data center databases, ensuring high availability, performance, and database dependencies. And so again, this is a specialized role. And historically, you will find that a system engineer is also a database administrator and also a storage administrator. Security engineer, very specialized, responsible for designing, implementing, and maintaining security measures to protect, to detect, and to remediate any cyber attack as part of protecting a company infrastructure. Again, this is a specialized role. You may find also a system engineer have general knowledge of security function or as a role as a security engineer. Disaster recovery, I did mention that we do need to back up our system. And so disaster recovery specialist is responsible for planning and implementing disaster recovery, BCP, which you call business continuity plan, procedure for restoring data center system in the event of a disaster outage. Again, this is part of possibly a system engineering role. And then you have the cloud engineer, DevOps. And so this is typically managing public cloud offering like your Microsoft Azure, your Amazon Web Services, or Google Google Public Cloud. And so their role is responsible for planning, designing, and implementing cloud systems and services, or maybe platform as a service. One of the lessons we'll go through is what's the difference between platform as a service, software as a service, infrastructure as a service. And so some of these functions gets rolled up into being a cloud or a DevOps engineer.